HOA Karen blocked mountain rescue, so I airlifted gear in with a Chinook helicopter. Have you ever faced a life-or-death situation where every second counts, only to find your efforts thwarted by the sheer, unyielding arrogance of someone who believes their petty rules supersede human safety? I'm Captain Ben Carter, a retired Air Force search and rescue pilot, now running a small, volunteer-based mountain rescue operation called Summit Guardians. Our base, a modest but fully equipped hangar and staging area, is strategically located at the foot of the treacherous Blackwood Peaks, a wilderness area popular with hikers but prone to sudden, severe weather changes. Our primary access road, a rugged, unpaved track, has been the critical artery for our rapid response missions for over 2 decades, connecting directly to the main highway. Then, Ms. Serena Thorne arrived. Serena, the newly elected, self-anointed queen of the sprawling, pristine Whispering Pines Estates Homeowners Association, saw our vital rescue operation not as a community asset, but as an unacceptable rural intrusion. She was all sharp angles and sharper pronouncements, a woman whose perfectly coiffed silver hair and designer activewear screamed unapproachable perfection. Her first official act, it seemed, was to send us a curt, imperious letter demanding we cease and desist using our access road, claiming it was disrupting the serene ambience of Whispering Pines Estates and lowering property values. Her ultimate, thinly veiled demand was for us to find an alternative access point, effectively forcing us to abandon our critical road and relocate our entire operation. Her tone was dripping with condescension, her words a thinly veiled threat against everything we held dear. She looked at our rescue base, a beacon of hope, as if it were a festering wound on the pristine landscape she envisioned. I tried to reason with her, to explain the life-saving nature of our work, the critical response times dependent on that road, and the sheer impracticality of creating a new road through dense, protected wilderness. I even provided official letters from the County Sheriff's Department and the National Forest Service, highlighting our indispensable role in mountain safety. Serena merely waved a dismissive hand, her perfectly manicured nails glinting. "Captain Carter," she purred, her voice a brittle whisper of disdain. "Your endeavors are simply not suited for the elevated standards of Whispering Pines Estates. We are building a community of distinction, and frankly, your noisy vehicles detract from our property values. The bylaws are clear. We control all access points bordering our community." Her words, delivered with an air of unassailable authority, left no room for debate. She was not interested in human lives. She was interested in control and exclusivity. The true nightmare began on a frigid Saturday afternoon. A sudden, unexpected blizzard descended upon Blackwood Peaks, trapping a group of inexperienced hikers high on the treacherous North Ridge. Their distress call came in, desperate and fading. One hiker was injured, hypothermic, and fading fast. Every second counted. I rallied my team, loaded our specialized rescue gear onto our rapid response ATV, and sped towards our access road, only to find it completely blocked. A massive, temporary chain-link fence, topped with barbed wire, stretched across the entire entrance. A sign, emblazoned with the Whispering Pines Estates HOA logo, declared, "Private Road Whispering Pines Estates Residents Only." My heart pounded with a mix of fury and disbelief. They had fenced us off, cut off our only direct route to the mountain, effectively condemning those hikers. The injured hiker, freezing and fading, was now a stark symbol of Serena's petty tyranny. As I stared at the imposing fence, a glint of white caught my eye near the base of one of the newly installed fence posts. It was a discarded, muddy blueprint. It wasn't an HOA document. It was a county plat map, old and faded, but unmistakably clear. It showed our access road not just as a private easement, but as a designated public right-of-way for emergency services, specifically marked for search and rescue operations and forest fire response. Serena had not only ignored our warnings, she had deliberately obstructed a vital public safety corridor. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about our access. It was an act of reckless endangerment, threatening the lives of those trapped on the mountain. And then, a chilling detail. A small, almost invisible notation on the map indicated that a portion of the newly erected fence actually encroached a few feet onto our property, beyond the designated public right-of-way. This wasn't just obstruction, it was criminal trespass. Armed with this irrefutable evidence, and with the lives of those hikers hanging in the balance, I resolved to confront Serena publicly. I learned she had called an emergency HOA meeting, ostensibly to present the new security measures and community beautification project measures. I now realized with a surge of cold fury that included our illegally blocked road. I arrived at the meeting, the plat map and my own property deed clutched in my hand, just as Serena, radiating an almost unbearable smugness, began her presentation, complete with glossy photos of the imposing new fence. I waited for a lull, then stood up, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Serena," I stated, holding up the plat map, "I believe this document sheds a rather inconvenient light on your security measures. And those hikers on Blackwood Peaks are fading fast." Her eyes, which had been sparkling with self-satisfaction, immediately narrowed. She quickly recovered, her voice sharp. "Captain Carter, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is a private HOA matter. You are disrupting our proceedings, and your dramatics are quite unnecessary." She attempted to rally the other HOA members, painting me as a disgruntled, melodramatic volunteer, a nuisance to their refined community. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely the kind of element we are trying to remove from our beautiful Whispering Pines. But just as she was about to call for me to be removed, a quiet, unassuming man named Dr. Evans, a retired emergency room physician who lived in Whispering Pines and had a deep respect for our rescue team, rose from his seat. "Actually, Ms. Thorne," Dr. Evans interjected, his voice calm but authoritative, "Captain Carter raises a very serious point. That access road isn't just his private easement. It's a designated emergency services right-of-way. Blocking it is a felony. And I just received a text from the county sheriff. They're having trouble reaching the hikers because of this very obstruction." He then pulled out his own, more recent, official county planning document, which clearly showed the emergency access route. The room fell silent. A collective gasp rippled through the air. Before Serena could even stammer a denial, the doors to the community hall burst open. Two stern-faced individuals from the county sheriff's search and rescue division, accompanied by a uniformed deputy, walked in. They had been tipped off by Dr. Evans, who had grown suspicious when the new fence appeared. "Serena Thorne," one of the SAR officials announced, his voice devoid of emotion, "you are in violation of multiple county ordinances. The construction of this fence obstructs a public right-of-way and constitutes criminal trespass on Summit Guardian's property. Your actions have directly jeopardized a search and rescue operation, and we have reports of forged documents submitted to the county for this project." Serena's face, which had been a mask of carefully constructed composure, crumbled into a terrified, pale mess. Her jaw went slack, her eyes darting wildly around the room, searching for an escape that wasn't there. She stammered, then erupted into a desperate, high-pitched shriek, blaming misunderstandings, overzealous contractors, and a misunderstanding of the paperwork. It was the pathetic wail of a tyrant whose kingdom had suddenly collapsed. Then, a surprising voice emerged from the crowd. Mr. Davies, a long-standing, quiet member of the HOA board and a respected local land developer, stood up, his face etched with regret. "And Ms. Thorne," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "perhaps you'd also like to explain why you pushed so hard for this fence project, not for the community's security, but because your son's struggling luxury glamping business, Pristine Peaks Retreats, stood to gain millions from exclusive access to the wilderness area, and you were promised a substantial personal consulting fee from the deal, all by ensuring privacy from the undesirable elements of the county road." The revelation hung in the air, a final, poisoned arrow. Serena had been exploiting the HOA not for the community's benefit, but for her own illicit financial gain and her son's profit. The fallout was swift and brutal. Serena was immediately stripped of her HOA presidency, her reign ending in public humiliation and a perp walk captured by local news. The county sheriff's department launched a full-scale investigation, leading to severe fines and criminal charges for obstruction of a public right-of-way, trespass, and reckless endangerment. The HOA members, horrified by her deception and the legal exposure she had brought upon them, voted unanimously to sue her personally for misuse of funds and damages to the community's reputation. Her carefully cultivated social circle, once so eager to bask in her reflected glory, publicly disavowed her, fearing association with a pariah. Pristine Peak's retreats, facing legal repercussions and public outrage, immediately lost their lucrative contracts and faced a barrage of investigations, leaving Serena utterly isolated and financially ruined. She lost her position, her reputation, her social standing, and faced a future of crushing debt and legal battles. Her karma was a public, humiliating spectacle, a direct consequence of her petty tyranny and audacious fraud. As for the hikers, while the drama unfolded, I had already initiated my backup plan. With the access road blocked, I had called in a favor from an old Air Force buddy. Within minutes, the unmistakable thud-thud-thud of rotor blades filled the air. A massive Chinook helicopter, a beast of a machine, descended from the stormy sky, hovering directly over the blocked road. My team, expertly trained, began airlifting critical medical supplies and rescue gear directly to the trapped hikers, bypassing Serena's ridiculous fence entirely. The sight of that powerful helicopter, a symbol of true authority and capability, dwarfing Serena's petty obstruction, was a moment of pure, unadulterated satisfaction. The hikers were rescued, cold but safe, thanks to quick thinking and a powerful ally. I felt a profound sense of vindication, a quiet triumph that justice, however painfully achieved, had prevailed. Our access road was restored, and Summit Guardians continued its vital work, now with even more support from the county and the grateful public. The community, shaken but united, began the process of rebuilding trust and respecting the delicate balance of property rights and public safety. In a world where bureaucratic power can become a weapon and individual ego can endanger an entire community, where do we draw the line between upholding rules and protecting lives and livelihoods? When faced with such blatant disregard for human safety and essential services, what would you have done?